the last of them left. We're just totally exhausted.
Yeah. What was the party birthday?
Trudy's brother's 65th
Nice.
birthday. He's a single gentleman. He lives in Leduc. And so nobody ever had to come out for a wedding from Ontario for him. So they figured might as well come out for a birthday.
Cool.
It was good.
Oh, that's awesome.
We had probably just over 80 people.
Oh, wow. That's a big bash.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Daniels.
I'll be right back. I need to get a drink.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we rented the hall at church.
Nice.
And West End CRC. They're on you probably know it, 100th Avenue and just south of Stony Plain on 149th.
Right. I know the area. I don't know that specifically.
Yeah. It's one that has the Pizza Hut roof on it.
Oh, really?
An oversized one, but that was always the joke. Hello, Tim and Becky.
How are you doing, Leslie?
Good.
Good. Good to see you. I'm fighting with my computer for a minute, so if I'm stalling, that's how come.
No worries. You're allowed.
Were you guys talking about pizza? What were you talking about?
Birthday party. But it was
See-
a location.
Our church,
Oh, okay.
that we go to, it's the
Got
roof
that.
is like an oversized Pizza Hut roof,
Oh, I knew I heard the word pizza.
with the flat and the flat roof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good thing it wasn't painted red.
Yeah.
What color is the roof, Leslie? I missed context. I heard pizza and I went, food?
The first word I ever learned to say was pizza.
Nice. That's fun.
It's a dark gray.
Hey, Brent, good to see you. Looks like Shane is
Hello.
on, but not present.
Oh.
How's your day been, Brent?
Today's busy. This week's busy. We have the ice vending machines we have. We're looking to get them set and get them installed this week. So it's a little bit of rush. We bought a used one, so transferring over it's a little bit of a process. So hopefully we can get that taken care of before Friday, and then get it done because it was yesterday. It's opening day for the park, so we want to get them in as soon as possible so we can have the entire season this year.
Mhm.
Nice. Well, good luck with that. Hopefully everything
Thank you.
rolls out smoothly. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that your business, ice machines?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we had one last year, and then we found a used one. That was only. It's actually the serial number is the next one after the one we bought. So they're the same age machines. Just was used at a different place
Hmm.
in the same state. So
Uh, and
it's
where are you
interesting.
located?
Michigan.
Michigan.
Hmm.
So are these self generating ice machines, or do they need to be filled with ice?
No, they make their own ice. It's a
Condenser.
systems on there. Yep. Yeah, so it's got an ice maker in it with a drum underneath, and then it just rotates and dumps out
Yeah.
the,
And-
one bag per per rotation.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and it just sucks the moisture out of the air.
No, it plugs into the water. There's a water
Water.
line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, Patty. Hey, Christy. Good to see you. All right, Blair,
Hello. Glad you're with us, Leslie. Missed you last week.
Yeah, I miss being here, but I was totally worn out.
Slacker.
Okay.
Okay.
I am up and live on YouTube already.
All right. Are we ready to kick it off?
We are. We're good to go.
All right.
I'm just going to grab
Welcome.
my notes. You guys get started.
All right. Hey, we'd like to welcome everybody tonight to the BDE. This is episode 340. We're going to get into it in a minute. It's going to be actually a good rewind, you guys. This is a good start if I'm already tongue-tied. Welcome to tonight's episode 340 of the BDE, where we're going to be discussing mind models. It's going to be, I think, a very fun conversation, so excited to get into it. Mind models are a collection of extensively tested thought frameworks, skills, and behaviors that enable people to transform their lives intentionally. Your host for this evening is Blair Dunkley, the creator of Mind Models. We are Tim and Becky Graff, your co-hosts and certified mind model coaches, along with the amazing Patty McClurg and soon to be certified coach Colin Jewett. He's not with us yet. He will be likely popping on later. All right, the BDE is Blair's free gift to you and it's an opportunity to learn, experience, and practice mind models in a safe, real-world environment. Mind models have helped us in every area of our lives, not only in business, but personally resolving an 8-year issue in our marriage within a couple of hours, to the navigation of grief and PTSD from a tragic accident in 2020, where we lost both of our young daughters. Mind models have allowed us to be more effective and increase our capacities and speed of recovery without traditional counseling. And we look forward to learning with you tonight and welcome you to the BDE. If you're on YouTube, please make sure that as you're following along with us, that you comment, like, and subscribe. Again, we're here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Eastern. And we have a couple announcements. Blair's put together some insider notes that allow you to have a deeper dive into the mind models and the topics in which we're using mind models in for enhanced study and more deeper dive in actual practical application in your life. You're going to have an opportunity to get all historical and ongoing notes for the Blair Dunkley experience, starting with 318. And as I mentioned, we're on 340. So there's a lot of great, rich information there. The opportunity to do that, you can do at blairdunkley.com/BDE insider notes, and it's $25 a month or $300 a year. Definitely worth getting your hands on, especially as you want to become more effective in your world and be able to use mind models to help you do so. With that, we are going to be diving into some new material, and I will turn it over to you, Patty.
Okay, thanks so much. Courtney, welcome. Glad to see you here. And welcome to Jane on YouTube. So I know that she's with us. She's juggling a client, waiting for a call while she's joining us on YouTube. So we are doing a series. This is the second part of a 4-part series on deep listening. And we're calling it the 4 A's of deep listening. We've dealt with attitude. Last week, we're dealing with attention, which is the second A of deep listening. We talk about these separately, but they really are interlocking and overlapping, and they weave together. They're not just step A, step B, step C, but we're sorting them out, separating them out so that we can talk about them. So from last week, Brent, any leftovers from last week? We dealt with attitude last week. Any leftovers with that?
Not so many. It was just I remember we dug into not just listening, but deep listening and what that
Yes.
entails and what that's like, what the difference is. And then, looking for meaning, listening for meaning, not just like what the difference between hearing and listening, like the audible noises that just come through, you're hearing things, but then paying attention, to things you're saying and the meaning behind, and the meanings of those and the other forms of communications, the non-word communication, to
Excellent.
really pay attention to really deep listen.
So may I ask you a question?
Mhm.
So if we layer what you just said, all the
Mhm.
things about attitude that we covered last week, how does attitude affect your attention when you're listening?
Well, I would definitely say it does have, like you were saying, they overlap and they intertwine. So they do affect one another. So your attitude will affect your attention. Where are you listening? Where is your, is your, your thinking and feelings, are they affecting your ability to interact or pay attention and deep listen to another person? Are your inner thoughts going to affect how you're able to focus on what's being said and the form of communication, the other things you're looking for, the non-word communications, that's the subtleties, and to really pick up on those meanings. So that would definitely affect your attention. If you're focusing on your internal talk, your attention is on you, not uh, the other person.
Well said. So just so we have common definitions, attention, the act of attending, especially by directing the mind to selectively concentrate or focus. It's observant care, it's noticing and awareness. Those who are my model fans, notice and awareness involve attention. And it's literally from the Latin, it means, excuse me, to stretch. So it's a stretching toward, it's that you hear, Becky and Blair, Tim talk about leaning in, paying attention. The word actually means to stretch or to lean into. So that's where that's where that expression actually comes from. So what challenges do you have paying attention, Leslie?
Interesting.
Hey, Jackie, good to see you. And Shannon, welcome. Courtney, thank you for turning your camera on. It's good to see your face.
Paying attention is, you have to focus. You really have to focus. You have to listen. Listen more than talk.
So what challenges do you have with paying attention and in your listening? Do you have any specific challenges that you wrestle with as a person?
I think if there is a challenge, it would probably have to be around the topic of what um, is being talked about.
Are there certain topics that you just sort of tune out when you realize it's going down a particular path?
Maybe it's more that um, the opinion being expressed might not have merit.
Okay. So, so does that involve a judgment call on your part?
Absolutely.
Is that
Absolutely.
judgment effective for you?
No, it's not necessarily effective. It's not effective for a good conversation. But uh, I I think that uh, maybe with old age and treachery, I'm able to control control what I'm thinking.
I'm going to challenge your language just a little bit. Is that all right, Leslie?
Certainly.
So are you controlling what you're thinking, or are you choosing what you're thinking? Are you choosing your thoughts, or are you controlling your thoughts?
I think I'm controlling my behavior,
Ah, okay.
which is different, which is very different than controlling my thoughts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So is controlling your behavior part of your attitude towards something?
Uh, I think that falls into the situation others.
Self-other situation?
Yeah.
That one? Yeah.
Yes.
It was also what
Absolutely.
we're working with last week was a lot of attitude. So people with attitude engage differently with different expressions of attitude.
Mhm.
And then that it can impact attention. So just thought I'd throw in my 2 cents.
I appreciate that. Go ahead, Becky.
When we're talking about this attention piece, anybody ever heard the phrase split focus?
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
And
I missed that.
split focus.
Split
So
focus.
split focus.
Split focus. Okay.
I find for myself that when it comes to paying attention, sometimes my attitude of getting stuff done, like in go, 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 go mode, doesn't allow me the time and space to really pay attention to the one thing. And I find that there's not true attention being given towards conversation or whatever if I've got my own agenda going on in the background, because I've got all the things I need to do and I have the list of 9 and I'm trying to get 3 done at one time. And is it effective? Is that effective to do? Does it allow me to truly pay attention? Tim's laughing. He may be at the brunt end of sometimes this attention focus split stuff that I like to do, my challenge, Patty. So some places where I'm challenged with paying attention is truly being present with the one thing.
I can echo that for myself. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to share for myself, when we talk about attention, I've also noticed almost kind of on the flip side of what Becky was just sharing. I'll be having a conversation with somebody and they'll say something that I can relate to or that piques my interest, and suddenly my mind trails off down, memory lane, or
The bunny trail.
it takes off down the bunny trail, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, whoa, my attention went elsewhere, and
Mhm.
I'm not here anymore having the conversation, and I didn't catch the last however many minutes of what they were saying. It's like
Right.
all of a sudden this come back to moment. So for me, when you talk about attention, occasionally those bunny trails present themselves and I squirrel.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. For me, it's more challenging to stay present in one thing. In my life, that split focus, I juggle a lot in my life, and I sometimes have very tight time constraints. And I'm like, okay, I'm on target, I'm on target. And then a conversation will interrupt. I'm like, okay, I'm not on target, I'm not on target anymore. And it's like, okay, at some point, I have to take a deep breath and just accept the fact that I need to adapt, I need to pivot, I need to shift, I need to change something, because the stress of attempting to listen while I'm watching the clock and there goes my window of opportunity right out the window. And um, yeah, that's a very real thing for me.
Yeah.
So, Blair, what are your thoughts?
Well, Jackie made reference to my mother. Uh,
Oh,
she was trained by her as to become a life skills coach as I was as well. And I'd say darn near impossible unless you're Madeline Dunkley. She's now passed.
oh,
However, when she was a trainer, we did a thing called a marathon
hmm.
where we were awake for 72 hours straight.
Oh,
Yeah, because a lot of our coaches were going into, well, I was in Edmonton maximum security institution, the prison here, and I was in a brief lockdown, thank God, when everything just clanged, and that was it. It was just a short lockdown. But we would send coaches into high danger, high risk scenarios where they may have to face those things and stay alert and keep their wits about them and be able to act for a period of time without sleep. We also did a number of um, interventions where we would do the suicide runs. So there would be two of us going out on a call for somebody that would be potentially suicidal. Um, and those were pretty high risk. You just stay until things got done. But the piece that I'm pretty sure Jackie's referencing is the fact that my mother could be snoring, literally snoring, and listening to the content like simultaneously and rouse herself from what appeared to be a deep sleep instantaneously and chime in with excuse me but blah 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 and fix either a situation or a problem or a perception of what was going on and how that wasn't in the direction of the life skills and how it needed to play out. She gave me the formula for doing that, and eventually I was, as a coach trainer, some years later, able to reasonably approximate her model of the world of sleeping and listening, because you can't turn your ears off.
Right.
So anyway, long story short is I did a little bit of it, but not to the depth that my mother was able to do it, because she'd really be sawing logs. Like, it was loud, and it was amazing. Yeah. Anyway, Jackie, I'm glad you're nodding so profusely. I hope you got you got your ears working, obviously. I don't know about your mic, but anyway.
Well,
Can
and
I
if
do a quick test?
Yeah.
Yes, we can
You
hear
can hear
you.
me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Would you like
I
to
have
chime in here, Jackie?
no. Well, maybe, but it was like amazing. It was scary. I would just look at her and go, she must have been pretending, but no, she consistently did it. And she would just sit up and she would like either say something or ask a question.
Yeah.
And everybody would stop dead in their tracks because like we were all kind of like snickering. She's sleeping and snoring her head off and stuff like that. We can get away with anything. No, 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 no. It
Yeah,
was pretty
exactly.
amazing. Yeah.
That's like it's like the in one ear, out the other, but in her case, it was in one ear, out the mouth. Is that how it worked?
Oh, yes.
While
Sorry.
she was sleeping, that's the main thing. Like, while she was apparently sound asleep.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Okay.
but the other point here too is attention. The choice of how you pay attention is also important. And what do you choose to pay attention to? Your internal voice or the what people are actually saying?
So part of this is how you habituate. Is it possible to habituate to tuning something out,
Absolutely.
to tuning out a person or an idea or a train of thought? And you habituate to not paying attention. And in the brain, the connections that aren't used get pared down.
Mhm.
And then it takes more calories and more energy to reconstruct those or to grow those. And growing that ability to pay attention or reversing one of those habitual trends, that there are certain people when they start to talk, oh, they're going to go on forever, and your just brain just takes a vacation instead of really listening to what is actually going on.
Yeah.
Courtney, I see you nodding. Have you experienced anything like that?
Well, so with when it comes to attention, yes, I have experienced something like that in my past. More than several occasions, of course, but I had ADHD or what I thought was ADHD. So um, split focus and just attention, just I mean, mind wandering. I've experienced it, so definitely can relate to all of those.
Mhm. And sometimes the words go into sort of that short-term memory. I've heard Shane talk about this, where you can repeat words and say that you're listening, but you can't really tell a person what they actually were saying with meaning and purpose. Is that the way you've experienced that, Shane?
Oh, for sure. When Becky was saying split focus, I went like, how many splits can you have? Because my brain goes like not just yeah, like I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many things running around in my head that you better have to. I have to make a physical shift. Christy has to snap her finger, clap her hands, say, "Hey, pay attention. There'll be a quiz afterwards."
Quiz afterwards. That's great. That's great.
Mhm.
What do you do in those moments, Shane? Do you shift yourself?
I have been working on shifting myself. Christy, how have I been doing?
I think we're talking to you right now, babe.
It's a busy time of year.
Yep, it is.
So what do you do to attempt to shift yourself, Shane?
Put the phone down, turn sideways in the chair, really make sure I focus my eyes and my ears towards Christy when she's talking to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Christy, do you have a challenge at all with the, excuse me, issue of paying attention?
For like me personally,
Yeah, you.
no. I mean, Shane is not wrong when he says it's crazy busy, but I am squirrel, yes, but when somebody's talking to me, I have to completely shut down, stop everything and look and listen. And it's very important to me to be present and make that person feel like they are the only person in the room, no matter who it is, what age or anything. And so yes, I do burn the pancakes, but um paying attention and being present is something that I really because then if I notice that you're not like with me within our conversation, then like last week, here comes the attitude. So, but I work really hard with attention and being and if I can't give it to you right at the moment, I will say give me 2 minutes, give me 5 minutes, whatever. Let me finish doing this real quick or something. But um yeah, paying attention is pretty important for me.
Jackie, your comment about my mom, Madeline, reminds me of a story she frequently told the coaches about me when we were talking about fiber of communication and eye contact. And that's one of the things that you were sharing with Shane and you too, Christy. When I was, I don't know, 6 or 7, I used to sit on the counter, or my mom would put me up on the counter when she was doing dishes. And and I'd be talking to her, and she'd be washing the dishes and doing her thing. And she recalls the story where I was having a very serious conversation with her, and I took my hands and turned her face so she looked at me, and engaged me with eye contact. And I go, she shares that story because of the powerful need to pay attention, to get committed to that other person and be there, holding the other person important. And you mentioned that holding the other person important. A few people have said that, but that's all in, the fiber of communication. And the fiber of communication breaks down to following, which is you nod. And that's nonverbal following, or go, yep, got it. That's verbal following. And you need to have both types of following. Plus, then the I is for holding the person important. The B is body posture. So me sitting up on the counter, looking at my mom, twisting her head to look at me was correcting her body posture and eye contact in the same moment. And the E is eye contact, and the R is for rapport. And so when you get into rapport, you make that special connection. And when you do that, and the most important one out of those five is holding the other person important in your mind. As important, there's no other person more important than they are to you in that moment of that conversation, or this group. So you can hold a group as important as well and pay attention to the group. So that is the key. So we're not dropping the ball on on attention. We are holding the other person or the other group, everybody else but yourself, equally important to you. So you're not distracted. And I found that whole thing of importance is the one that is so critical to connect with attention, giving the other person the attention they need. Anyway, just thought I'd throw in that story. And yeah, my mom, thank you, Jackie, for reminding me of that story of my mother. So
She
anyway,
sounds like a remarkable woman. She's certainly ahead of her time
absolutely.
with the concepts.
Yep, she ran, well, she was involved in Life Skills College for 35 years, and as I was. So yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah. Worked
Excellent.
until she was 87
Wow.
as a coach. Yeah.
To be effective that long is a really great accolade.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was.
So back to paying attention. Can you make yourself pay attention? Leslie, I see you nodding. Can you make yourself pay attention?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Again, I'm going back to self-situation other on this one because it recently happened where a friend who was struggling just had a meltdown. And yeah, it was Sunday morning at church. It was after the service, and we're walking down the hall together, and she just stopped and burst into tears. She's an elderly woman, um, just moved from her house of many years. She uh, yeah, and it was just very much just stopping, going to the side, sitting down, and focusing and just listening, and just spending some time. Yeah,
How did you spend time with her?
listening.
In that,
Touching her, I had my hand on her shoulder and just focusing. And there
yeah,
were lots of other people around. And yeah, they it was interesting because they just let us be. But yeah, she's going through a lot right now and just struggling. But yeah, it was. I really had to focus, had to stop. Just whatever else, it was just unimportant. It was just listening and
So you held her important,
yeah,
you touched her, had your hand
yeah,
on her shoulder, which provides when people can't get out of themselves easily because they're crying, that touch reaches through and initiates attention to some degree.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's very grounding.
it
It
is.
helps them, find the present again.
Mhm,
Touch can help them find the present.
mhm.
she repeated herself many times over the same thing. And but what I did find interesting was that every time she repeated, she was adding a little bit more to the story.
Yep.
And yeah, there's absolutely nothing I can do to change her spot or anything. But
So am I hearing
I
you
was,
say that listening is not about fixing?
yes, good point. Because I can't fix the situation.
Mhm.
But
How did you leave it with her?
mm,
Did she feel understood? That was Jackie's question.
Yes, great question, Jackie.
yeah, she did. She felt understood. That is a good way of putting it.
Okay.
You know,
She
most
was definitely more under self control when she walked away when we parted.
absolutely. And there are two core emotions that we need in life. And the emotion that gives us a sense of connection has sort of two parts to it. It's being understood and understanding. The other emotion is all about survival, and it's curiosity. By the way, curiosity is the only emotion that can get you out of your, well, primitive brain, your emotional self, and move you into your prefrontal cortex. So it moves you from the back of the brain to the front of the brain, lizard brain, amygdala, to your prefrontal cortex to give you access to thinking and reasoning and processing and doing all of that stuff. Being understood helps people tell their story, and telling the story usually requires them to filter it to some degree through the prefrontal cortex.
Mhm.
And when they feel understood, their brain goes, oh, whatever I think my problem is lessened because it's moved from a problem to just a situation that needs to be resolved or understood or accepted. And if somebody else accepts it, then that's fine. Jackie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. A couple of things. Leslie, I was wondering if I can maybe ask you a question.
Yep.
Um, when you were deep listening to her, what type of sense did you have? Like what I get when I'm deep listening to somebody is like a bubble. Like I'm inside a bubble and there's no stimulation. I don't hear noises so well. from the outside, everything is muffled. Like I'm just totally in sync, I guess I would call it. Did you have any type of experience like that?
No, I was certainly cognizant of the surroundings and what was going on around, but I wasn't focusing on anything
Right, right.
in particular, but
So possibly you were just being aware of your surroundings more. Well, I'm going to make a huge assumption here, more of like a protection mode to, um, I don't know. That's maybe a silly thing, but like maybe just to make sure that uh, she was safe to be able to disclose without other people listening. Maybe that might be an awareness. I don't know. I'm
well, the
getting
way,
carried here.
okay, when we went to the side, when I brought her to the side where we could talk, it was at a table, a stand-up table, and she was facing me, and I had my back to the wall or to the windows. So she was more looking at me than at her than the surroundings around.
Mhm.
Because yeah, and she was looking down more than looking up.
Mhm.
I don't know if
That's cool.
I don't know if that fits to what you're thinking, Jackie, or not.
Well, I
Well,
have something
I was
that
just curious. Yeah.
fits in with that. I just want to take a moment, though, to welcome Ashley and Derek and fill you in. We are the second program on deep listening. And last week was attitude. This week is attention. So we're discussing the issue of attending with a conversation. So welcome, welcome. With reference to that, Jackie, when my children were younger, we lived in a very small house, and they would come home from school or something would go on, and they would need that vent. They would need that share. They would be very upset with something. And I would say to them, let's go into my office. Now, the thing is I didn't have an office. My office was the expression for wherever in the house I could find that nobody else was. So it could be the stairwell, it could be the basement, it could be my bedroom, it could be wherever we could find a place where all the other sounds were shut out, all the other people were shut out, and that person was the only focus in that moment. And so when you talk about that bubble, you know, what you picture, what you describe as picturing that bubble for listening in your brain was something I used to try and create within the environment to facilitate that same kind of ability to focus and for them to feel that there was no competition to being heard. So I just found your visual picture to be really intriguing, and it reminded me of that. So, Brent, may I ask you a question? So, how do you cultivate the ability to pay attention? What do you do to cultivate the ability to pay attention?
Oh man, thanks for the question, banker.
I have a lot of faith in you.
Thank you. Cultivating paying attention. Something I was thinking about first was Leslie. I know before he said about choosing or controlling his behaviors,
Mhm.
and that was an example of him choosing to control his behavior to pay attention. And that's what I was picking up on
Yeah.
his, you're asking like, what do you do to make yourself pay attention? And that's what he was explaining, and I was seeing about tying the two together and how that works. But going to cultivating the ability to pay attention. Is that
Yeah,
what
cultivating the ability. Can you if you're telling yourself I need to pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, what are you paying attention to when you're doing that?
Well, if I'm doing that, I'm paying attention to myself, telling myself to pay attention, not
Exactly.
exactly what I'm paying attention to. Now, if I find myself,
Exactly.
I'm
So,
trying to force something, force it when I'm
yeah.
not wanting to pay attention to something or something's that's detracting, having the ability
Mhm.
to pay attention to it. There are times like that where got a lot going on and it's difficult to do so, but um, the times where I really want to, I do is when I something new, I just like, okay, what can I learn? Like just information. So focus on some information coming, something new, and when that pops up, then it really like grabs me. So if there's something that's something new I haven't heard or something interesting that really it's like a hook I can grab onto, and then my attention will go like focus right on just that one moment without the other outside noise or voices coming in. But it's still like I would say sometimes like levels of listening, and maybe not the deep listening, but sometimes it's like I'm listening, but there's still a lot of stuff going in that I can hear, like Leslie was explaining, like I can hear a lot of things. I just was like, it comes in and go, okay, don't focus on that, focus on this. But there are things coming in, so there are times when that happens. It's like I really have to work at and focus on what's in front of me, what I'm listening to, and to pay attention to that. Sometimes it takes a little more effort, and sometimes it doesn't. So I
So
think
what
that's
mind models are you using to cultivate the ability to pay attention?
well, the three E's.
Mhm.
Let me explain that because Courtney
Yes.
is
Oh,
relatively new.
yes, the three E's. So it would be first one's effective versus ineffective. So is what I'm doing, is that effective or is it ineffective? So paying attention. If I'm not what's coming in, what am I focusing on? And then it's external versus internal. So external verification versus internal verification. That's, is it where is the verification lying? External, internal. And then evaluation versus judgment. So am I in a place of evaluating or am I in a place of judgment? Where am I coming from? So, yeah. Does that make sense, Courtney?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so those are the three I go to right away, is what I'm doing effective.
Mhm.
Am I, externally verified? Is that can I do that? Is it internal? Am I placed an evaluation or judgment? Definitely if I come from a place of judgment, it's not effective. My attention is not really on that person. It's on like what like I'm placing on them, like it's like they're doing something, not just the information or what's coming out. Like it's like the data, it's a reflection on them. That's what I don't, seeing that instead of just evaluating and going with the information. So
Do you ever
I
judge
like
yourself?
effective, and that's why
Do you ever
that
judge
makes a difference
yourself?
on your attention, like your attitude, your
Yeah,
attention. If you're judging, where is your attention? It's not
exactly.
necessarily on information. Hopefully it's like an attack on that person trying to find something, really hold it against them. So that's, yeah, ineffective. So is there another question you can get to so that we can get to?
Is there somebody else I could ask? Is that what you're?
Yeah, like cultivating, what does there, I think there might be another one to make me get a little closer. Is there
Okay.
another one you got?
Christy, actually, you sound like you work really hard at paying attention. What mind models do you use when you're paying attention
The three
and
E's
listening?
also name and labeling, ask versus
Mm.
tell, clarity versus certainty. Um,
Could you talk a little bit about the ask versus tell with paying attention?
well, if I'm asking questions instead of just telling, like I'm actually present in my attention with the person that's having a conversation, and that really helps me with I'm really listening. I'm
Mhm.
not just waiting to say the next thing or maybe respond. So I'm not telling, I'm asking questions to kind of let them because it's about them, not about me.
Mhm. I really like that. What it's another common issue really in the ability to listen with and really attend to the speaker is if you're listening and preparing your response while you're listening, so you're listening with the intent of forming a rebuttal or focusing on what you're going to say back, can you actually be present, or are you future based at that point? Can you be present and attend with them if you're formulating your response? So that's another great observation. So Ashley, Derek, may I ask you a question? Does curiosity impact your ability to pay attention?
I would think it does, yes.
How does it do that?
If you're not actually listening to hear what they have to say with the intent of hearing what they have to say, but to give your opinion, then you're going to miss what they're trying to tell you, essentially.
Hmm. Ashley, do you have anything that you would add to that?
And the question was like around curiosity and what
Yeah, how does curiosity impact your ability to pay attention?
I don't think it impacts my ability to pay attention. It impacts how I'm paying attention. It's my intention. Like, is my intention to listen, to understand them, to know what they're saying, or is it to prove a point? Or I think it's more about the intention than actually how attentive I am.
So when you are focusing and listening with curiosity, are you saying that then becomes your intention and that helps you to pay attention?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we're not necessarily pay attention. I don't know if the two are necessarily linked for me. But it just is a different way of listening. There's a different reason behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. Courtney, what are your thoughts?
On curiosity.
Curiosity and attention.
Curiosity and attention. Well, let me see. Well, curiosity, I mean, having the curiosity to, while we're listening and actually formulating on trying to respond to who we're interacting with, I mean, that in a way, you're not really fully being present, because that curiosity of trying to formulate a response, you're going off of what you think is right instead of actually just being present and listening to the person that is wanting to be heard and understood, and they're just sharing their thoughts. So when it comes to that, I mean, I really just think that's not the right way to be, I mean, with someone when they're wanting to be heard.
Okay.
If you do you mind if I ask you some questions, Courtney?
Sure.
Okay. So if you hold somebody, like in our conversation right this second, if you're holding me as important and I'm holding you as important, does the curiosity sort of spark questions when one of us is done?
Um,
Or are you just going to passively accept what's said?
Ah, um, I guess in my past, it was something that I was actually that's what I used to do, just passively accepting things.
Is it? Or is it that you need to engage and accept? Because I can accept you for where you're at, can I not?
Yes,
And can I not have my own opinion?
certainly.
Can I accept your opinion as well?
Yes,
One doesn't necessarily mean you're right, I'm wrong. It's just people have multiple ways of viewing it. Correct?
correct.
So all I have to do is hold your information as important and be curious. How do you really see this?
Um, I'm sorry, I'm a little.
That's okay. These are not, everybody on this call has been in this spot many times. Well, maybe not Derek, but Ashley has. Derek is so as well. We'll get around to him because I get to pick on people. And so it just causes people to think and to go, oh, might that be a possibility?
Yes, it very well could be. I mean, it
Right.
is, and
So, Courtney, may I ask you a question?
yes.
How does it feel to have Blair show an interest and express curiosity about the way you're thinking right now? How does that feel to you, for him to show that curiosity and interest in what you're saying and how you're expressing yourself?
How does it feel? I feel like for me, most of the time, I've always felt like I was always on the back, just observing and just always being the listener and just not the voice that's not heard often. And so it definitely made me feel like I'm seen and I am uh, there's a voice here that is here to be heard.
Yes, you are a voice to be heard, and we welcome hearing you. Wanted you to
Thank you.
notice, just to lock in on the value of curiosity. His curiosity is genuine and it's neutral. So it's not asking you to prove yourself or justify yourself or somehow explain your opinions. He just wants to know, how are you thinking, out of a true
Actually, I just want to
concern
know
and
you,
interest for you.
like just know you.
Yeah,
That's
just
all.
you, that you have value. And
Exactly.
curiosity, when it's genuine, allows us to show that care and concern through a very genuine interest in another person. So I'm curious, what do you take out of that? What can you take out of that?
Uh, um, it's something that's aligning with some thoughts that I had earlier today was because I'm sorry. Um, so I work, and a lot of the times that I work at my work, I do a lot of things on the operational on the back end side, the pieces that makes things move in the company. And so they don't usually always see it's me that's moving all the pieces. So just today I was thinking, I want to be out there so that they know it is me that is doing it. And so with this, it's just really kind of affirming to me that I do bring a lot of value to things. And so
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your being willing to wade into the deep end with us for a little bit and let us get to know you a little more. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Jackie, I like what you're writing there.
Let's see. Yeah, we have some interesting things in the chat. From Ashley, she says, my understanding is that listening with curiosity allows you to listen and invite people to share comfortable, to feel comfortable, to expand and share further in depth what they are thinking, and that what they are saying is being heard and has value. Would that be accurate? I believe so. Christy, I choose to be curious about what's important to the person I am listening for the meaning, not just the words. Very important point, Christy. Thank you. My understanding, this is from Jackie, is that listening with curiosity allows you to listen and invite people to feel comfortable. It sounds like it's exactly the same thing.
She added on to the bottom that she'd say to attempt to get into process rather than content.
Oh, okay. I'd say attempt to get into process rather than content. Okay.
Somebody has to quickly explain the difference to Courtney.
Yeah, go ahead, Jackie. Or not Jackie, Becky. Go ahead and you could explain the difference between content and process to Courtney.
I'm actually going to pass the ball to Shane. Shane, talk for a bit.
Okay.
Shane, would you be willing to share the difference between content versus process? Oh, wait, that sounds great. No fair.
Content versus process. Content, I mean, it's a flow. I mean, Blair will do a thing with water pitcher, a glass water pitcher, I'm pouring water into here, but what's the content? It's Chris and I have done this before on camera. It was kind of difficult, but fun. But I mean, the content is kind of everything around us, and the process or the flow is getting. The way I look at it is getting alignment with the person that you're talking to.
Yeah,
Would be the shortest version, maybe out there.
is the movement of stuff.
Yeah,
it's the flow. It's the transition from point A to point B. We can have all the content in the world, but if nothing flows, there is no movement, there is no change. We're all, in a static state. But we're all in flow always. The earth is in a flow. The earth is going around the sun every day. It's going through, it's actually, the earth itself is moving faster than a bullet through space. So yet we don't feel it because we have gravity holding us here and just physics keeping us stuck to the earth, thank God. Otherwise, we'd just be flung off into space. We wouldn't be here and that sort of thing. But it's flow, and its process is an organized path of energy or activity, sometimes money, sometimes electricity. It's all flowing. Your blood flows. Everything flows. Life flows.
Sorry, Blair.
Go for it.
Well, just Courtney, like you're talking about the pieces at work that you want to make sure that they know that it's you that's moving all those pieces. So they have the content, they know that stuff is happening, but they're not aware of the flow or the process of what you're doing.
Right.
You're doing flow because you're making things move. You have a process. They just don't have it together yet. So you got to bring them to alignment with you.
Yeah. Jackie, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just a little bit of a comment on process and content. I found the explanation a little bit tricky to understand. I kind of knew where Shane was going with it. I was wondering if I might attempt to give an example or try something to show. Okay, so when I'm in content, I'm like, why is this happening to me? I don't understand. I don't feel good, and I'm like playing out a story. When I'm in process, I'm taking a step back and I'm going, well, what might I do differently? What might I do right now? I don't know if that helps anyone understand it a little bit more clearly, or if anybody can add to that to create a little bit more understanding about process versus content.
Now, I'd like to add a little bit to that, if I may.
Great.
Just to break it down, one of the things that I value, Jackie, about your contributions is your ability to take some complex things and make them simple. And so for content and process, if you think of them as two sides of the same coin, we actually need them both. And the content is the what of it, and the process is the how of it. So we can get a whole list of what's and have tons of information and not actually be doing anything with that information. So the content is the what's and the process is the how's.
Isn't that somebody liked it too, like being on a hamster wheel, like the little hamster running on the wheel, and they're in their content. But once it steps off and it'd be able to step back on, then it's being able to go into content or into the process of getting on and off. That's
Well,
not
one of the
exactly the way
things
it
I would
came
say
out,
to
but
add, if we're looking at the hamster wheel, there is a process there, it's just not effective. And so what you brought into that was the idea of evaluation. You know, is this working for me? Is this not working for me? What about this is not working? And then what might I do differently?
so
So
those are
process can be effective or ineffective. And if it is an ineffective process, then we get to ask through curiosity, what might we do differently?
so if it's an ineffective process, are we actually in content?
No, I think we can
Not
have an
necessarily.
ineffective process. Blair, do you want to
Yeah.
weigh in on
Not
this?
necessarily. We
Okay.
can be in like in content. Yeah, we can be stuck, and we've mislabeled it as a process. But I've been in lots of ineffective processes.
Mhm.
Most of my marketing in my business, I am in action. Things are being done, and it's ineffective. It just isn't working. So, I mean, that's an ineffective process that I'm trying to
So
change.
failing fast, falling forward.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
but it's
absolutely.
it's failing fast, but not falling forward.
Yet.
That's ineffective. I'm trying to change the trajectory of my falling.
Mhm.
So the pivot post,
Yes.
where does that come in? Where?
Yeah, well, if it's significant, I'm changing the trajectory. I'm trying to figure out a new path. That's where that comes in.
Okay,
Okay.
Brent, did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, I was going to point out, like Jackie, the ineffective process. So like with Blair, the example of running on a hamster wheel, say it's me. I'm like, I got to go I'm at point A, I'm going to go to point B. And to get there, I'm going to run. That's how I'm going to do it. But so I'm going to start running, but then I jumped on the hamster wheel. I'm running, but I'm not getting to point B, but I'm running. So it's a process. It's going. but I'm not getting there. So that's ineffective. Then you get off pivot post, I readjust, get back on, and I run on the ground, and I get to point B. So that was effective process. So difference between the two is maybe that may be able to see which is
That's
effective and ineffective.
Thank you, Brent.
You're
That
welcome.
really helped my description.
Yes,
You're
well
welcome.
done, Brent. Any other comments before we go to wrap up? Okay, Tim, I'm going to hand it to you.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Patty. All right. So we'll move into wrap up. And just as a reminder, Derek and Ashley, I know you guys were on last week and kind of got a taste for how we run the wrap up, but just really quick, just wanted to share that as we go through wrap up, it's basically just a number of 1 to 10 of your experience tonight on the Blair Dunkley experience. It's not necessarily how well Blair did or Patty or myself or Becky or anyone else. It's just how a number of 1 to 10 on how you experienced tonight, and then your biggest takeaway. So I'll go around a little bit, and then when I come around to you, there's no obligation to share if you don't want to, but we invite you to do so. So Shane, would you mind kicking us off with the wrap up tonight?
Thought about blanking my video again, but I will. Love it. I'll give it a solid 9.5. Attention. Like I said, the split focus. Sometimes I get a lot of splits going in there, but making the eye contact as part of the fiber. Shift my body, face the person I'm talking to. When you guys were talking about how you shift your focus, I've been wrestling with conscious, subconscious. Like I got to consciously focus, but my subconscious will be like, well, that little squirrel is already trying to split, and I got to consciously slap him back and say, hey, no, like focus, don't. But the subconscious, they're like, hey, no, get back over here. So I kind of bring that in with being in rapport with the person you're talking to. And then, obviously that being in alignment, I really hold with high value. So wonderful evening. Thank you.
So thank you, Shane. Leslie, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Yes. I've got a 9 for tonight. Very interesting. Couple things that I highlighted in my notes here tonight was that you can't turn your ears off. That's a subtle realization. It's true. I've noted it probably all my life, but as to actually realizing and thinking about it, that was something. And
because you can close your eyes, but you can't close your ears.
you can't close your ears. Very good. The other thing is, I wrote it as a statement, but also put a question at the end of it, and that is that the choice to focus and to pay attention when you do that, that's almost instantaneous. Is it not? I think it is. So
It depends on how you've habituated that. Because if focus means paying attention, then yes, it is. But if focus, when you focus up, again, are you having that split focus? Are you partially focused or more focused? And how are you paying attention? Because I've had people who tend to look down and away when they say they're focusing in on what I'm saying or what somebody else is saying. And they don't look engaged. And they, like a married couple, she would be very upset with him because her husband would be looking down, but he had a very serious look on his face, but he never had proper eye contact. But nobody ever asked him to use eye contact to engage with his missus, as it were.
interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say with that as well, I noticed that, when when I am very time focused and I have an intent and my intent is interrupted, the shift to pay attention and focus is not instantaneous for me. I have to notice that and accept the fact that my intent has been interrupted. Do I accept that interruption? What do I do with that interruption? And then I park it and I can choose to focus at that point. But that is a process for me. That is also not an instantaneous thing. It's shifting for me, and shifting takes a minute.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question, Leslie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, back to you, Tim.
All right. Well, thank you, Leslie. Appreciate that. Brent, would you mind participating in the wrap up?
No, I don't mind. Thank you. Yes, paying attention. So the one thing I did was choice, like behavior. You're choosing your behaviors to pay attention. Like where are those, and actively choosing and focusing on. And then the piece of acceptance, that was one I didn't see, but Blair was talking about it, and then Patty did just there as well, was acceptance. The acceptance of the situation, what's going on, and as well as the other person. Like not so just keeping that judgment out, but just accepting what's coming across, to be able to let that come through, so that way you're able to have that attention stay there, and so that affects your attitude as well, so that ties in with that. But that was the first time was Leslie, choosing the behaviors. That was really something that I was listening on, so actively choosing that, so being able to switch, like Patty, switching that. And it takes effort. It can take some effort to pay attention and choose to do that, and it can be quick or take some time, depending on the situation, what you're doing, and what's going on. So yeah. Yeah, I liked this one. This was fun, a little more upbeat, you know, feel pretty great tonight, so flowing pretty well. Yeah, maybe a 9 for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Brent.
Mhm.
Jackie, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Can I hear you?
Uh-oh.
For some reason, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, you are.
There you
Yes?
are.
Yes.
Now. Okay. Sorry, it's getting loud around here, so I'll be quick. It was a 9 for me tonight, and I realized I only kind of have to deal with me, myself, and I a lot of the times in life. So what I've actually decided to do is, if I need to talk to myself or listen to myself, I'm going to look in the mirror and give myself eye contact and see how that works. I'll get back to you on that. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you, Jackie. Christy, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Of course. Thanks for asking. I love attention. I think it is just something that I choose with intentionality. So like attention and I'm intentional about it. Being able to be present and understand others and what they're saying with the meanings and not the words. I know when I like to feel like I'm being understood, and you don't even have to say anything to me, but if you give me your attention, I feel like you're aligning with me. And then just like if I'm the one talking, that's about me, not you, and vice versa. If I'm listening, giving that person my full attention, that that it's a good reminder that it's about them, and staying present. And I really love fiber with the deep listening. I think it's a really great tool to align with the 4 A's. I don't know if I said 9 already, but definitely a big 9.
So thank you, Christy. Shannon, are you there? And would you like to participate in the wrap up? So good to see you. Hello.
Buddy. Attention is an interesting one. for me. I can remember growing up, I had a lot of trauma around education. And so disassociation, I think there's just some patterns that my brain has gotten used to when I'm sitting down, I've noticed. So I find that if I really want to pay attention to somebody moving around, like I love visiting with people while walking, some sort of movement helps my mind focus on them more effectively. That's just something I've noticed in my own self. Because there are times if I um, have a lot of adrenaline or, a lot of things full in my own mind, it's hard for me to let those quiet down and actually listen to what somebody else has to say if someone else really needs to say something. So it circles back to what we talked about last week, which is one of the things, Blair said that I would check back with you on about holding people important and noticing how that works with clients and different things. And that that for tuning my attention, because I will notice my mind wander when I'm talking to people sometimes if I have a lot that is going on in my head that I can't quiet down. And shifting that focus to holding them instead of trying to tell myself to pay attention, like holding them as important kind of quiets that down, and it gets me out of my own way a little bit. And I noticed that with my client last week as well, because the first time I did a really, really good job with this particular client, it was on accident, and it was something I wanted to learn how to duplicate. And so all the little pieces come into play, and it's getting out of my own way and holding them is important. So that was really effective last week, and that is what kept popping up for me this week throughout the conversation. There is a huge element of choice involved. There's so many things today that are pulling for our attention. Little videos online get shorter and faster. You can't even see everything that people are flashing in front of you. And there's a lot that's, I think, trying to fray our minds and pull it apart. And so it is a conscious collective effort to like gather your brain together and stuff it back in place so you can, hold your focus. And I know over time there have been studies done that the amount of time, adults and children can focus on something is going down. So, the power of choice plays a huge one in that for me, because it's like if I notice something is a habit, nope, put down my phone and let's, listen and really listen. And so some of that is just, I think, a Nanpu comes in because you're noticing sometimes the ineffective habits that want to pull you, and then you can draw yourself back with curiosity and all the things that we know how to do. So it was a really great conversation tonight, 9 for me. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you, Shannon. Derek, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Sure, let's give it a shot. I would say probably a 9. The reason that I'm saying that is the listening with curiosity thing. It's something Ashley has mentioned more times than I care to admit, usually when she wants me to listen to her. And it's something that I'm not good at. I know that and I think that goes back to my family life and stuff like that. It was more like get in a conversation, get out, and try and avoid having to converse with people. So it's definitely a habit pattern to do that. And so I don't really dig into what people are saying. And I know that's something that Ashley wants me to do. So yeah, I like hearing about it and touching on it so that it's something that I can start trying to practice more, whether I'm good at it at the beginning or not. It's just something I can start incorporating.
For sure. Is Ashley there?
Kind of. She's adulting with the children.
Yeah.
Would you like to participate in the wrap up, Ashley?
Yeah, I can't really give a number because I was so in and out. So yeah. But I really just love being here and being a part of this again and having it all come back. So I don't really have a number or anything else I can really touch on. So I was not deep listening. Thank you very much though.
No worries. We appreciate you being here. You and Derek. So thanks.
Thank you.
Becky, you want to participate in the wrap up?
9.25 for me. It's been a really rich conversation, attention, piggybacking off of some of what you said, Shannon. Sometimes it feels like my attention is being pulled by 101 different things, and I find the overwhelm creeping in. And so that active part of diverting and exercising choice on what I will, put my attention to, and really just being aware of when I'm not. So if I'm finding myself, I find that my curiosity, what I'm truly curious about is what pulls my attention. So if I'm having a conversation, I hear something like ear hustling. You guys ever heard that term? Like you're having a conversation with somebody and then you hear a word or a phrase and your mind just starts to do it, drift. I hate to admit it, but I've done that before. But I finding like when those moments happen, to redirect and or making sure that when I'm sitting down with somebody, I am holding them as important so that my attention is going where it needs to be. So lots of awarenesses and kind of like, I'm noticing that I'm doing that more than I wish that I was. What might I do differently? And being able to pull from our toolkit, because again, attention, where our attention is where our focus goes and our energy, our behaviors and things like that. So it's a very important thing that when we're in a relationship with ourselves, listening to ourselves, giving ourselves attention that way, or with another human being, that we are fully focused in those moments so that we can get the most traction and be able to have the best experience or have them feel seen and heard is really an important piece. So that's me tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. For myself, it was a 9-5 tonight. I really appreciated what was shared about, Blair shared it and a couple other people have talked about it, but the fiber of communication and really, your body language, holding the other person important, being in rapport with them, your eye contact. I've found that usually when I start to go down those bunny trails, and it's because I'm not actually staying engaged with the person that I'm having a conversation with. I'm not in, my body rapport. I'm not in eye contact, and I'm not actually holding them as important as I might be. So really paying attention to, the my body language and the fiber of communication like was shared, and holding that other person important and really staying curious. I loved again what has been shared, and Shannon shared it here just a minute ago about, just staying curious and parking yourself, your own thoughts and those kinds of things, and just staying truly curious about what the other person is sharing is what for myself, I found to be one of the best ways to really hold that attention and stay engaged in the conversation. So just loved hearing everybody's comments tonight and everybody engaging. So and a couple new faces, having Courtney on. And again, thank you for showing up, Ashley and Derek. It's great seeing you guys. And Shannon, I love it when you come on camera. It just really works. It's great seeing everyone. And Jackie from halfway across the world or across the world in different places. It's just really great to see everybody. So Patty, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Sure. So for me, I'll give it a 9 tonight. It was really interesting to take all the little pieces from everybody. And for me, there's a lot of noticing, a lot of personal awareness in paying attention to be able to exercise that power of choice. And I notice for myself that my attitude does play a real significant role if I enter into a conversation coming from a place of frustration, coming from a place of feeling hurried, then I need to dial in and really acknowledge that that's where I am at that moment and that it is not working for this conversation, and park it. And learning to notice and being curious with myself to say, okay, what about this isn't working and what can I do about that? Really helps me in the role of paying attention. So I really enjoyed the discussion and everybody's input. Very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Blair, would you like to participate and wrap up?
Yes, thank you. No, I really liked, well, Jackie, thank you so much for reminding me of my mother and all her great quirks and attributes and clarity that she provided, and great work she did over her decades of involvement. That was wonderful. Also getting back to, in some ways, a simpler time in my mind of just, hey, eye contact, the whole fiber of communication thing. Just little kids do it all the time, and it's simple and it works. And then people feel like you're giving them attention and they're getting attention. And yeah, as opposed to just the attention in our brain. So anyway, those are my thoughts. It was a good conversation. Thanks.
Thank you, Blair. All right, pass it to Becky to take us out.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in with us tonight. Those of you who are on YouTube, please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. And again, we're here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Eastern. Look forward to having you join us. And as a reminder, Blair does have an opportunity for you guys to get his study notes. It's all historical and ongoing notes for the BDE from episode 318 onward. And again, we're at 340, so there's a great wealth of information, knowledge, a little deeper dive on the concepts that we're talking about. So please make sure that you get your hands on that. You can get it at blairdunkley.com/BDE-insider notes. And if you're here on Zoom and you haven't yet, I can pop it in the chat. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week. And again, take care, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Have a good night.
Night.
Good night.